Chilly temperatures, not exactly the perfect ingredients for a spring day across the southern U.S. We'll see why today's gloom could lead to more wintry doom in the Northeast tomorrow.
The fascinating tornado, often deadly and destructive, and now easier to forecast. We'll meet the people responsible for these improved forecasts next on WeatherScope.
For a scope of coverage you won't find anywhere else, this is WeatherScope Tonight.
It's 1:30. Good evening. I'm Dave Schwartz here at the Weather Channel. Now, you've heard of a whiteout, haven't you? Mm-hmm. Surely you've heard when the snow is so heavy that you can't even see anything. Well, we had a wet out today in the south. I'll tell you more about it.
And I'm Sharon Resultin. We also had some wintry precipitation, believe it or not, in parts of the south that aren't really used to seeing that kind of weather, and this was the result. Texans finding out what can happen when cold air and rain mix. And this was the scene, look at that, on many roadways early this morning in Abilene, Texas. It was freezing rain and icy roads causing very dangerous conditions.
Here's your wet out, Sharon. Just about 3 hours east of Abilene in Dallas. It just plain old rained all day. Thunderstorms, temperature 39 or 40 degrees, nasty, but a good-looking weekend's coming up.
And Atlanta was also in line for a damp, raw day today. Conditions did not slow down construction crews getting ready for the Summer Olympics. A matter of couple hundred days left, not even that much. Gusty winds and temperatures in the low 50s added to the miserable conditions. Is the South ever going to see some spring sunshine? Spring rolled in and we haven't even felt it, it doesn't seem like, in the South. But for maybe 1 or 2 nice days since the beginning of spring on Wednesday. Well, it is going to be a wet spell for the southeast. A wet out is a pretty good phrase to use, I'd say, as we'll continue to see lots of wet weather. Our area of low pressure is going to deepen or strengthen just a bit. And look how it's situated right there in the Gulf of Mexico. It just gives a good opportunity to pull up ample moisture into the deep south. If that weren't enough, an upper disturbance is going to pull on through. That's going to give this thing a nudge to the northeast, and it's going to spread the wealth, if you will. More rain, not only in the southeast, but some of that rain is going to get spread on into parts of the mid-Atlantic as well. So we see our low-pressure system moving to the northeast. Eventually another coastal low developing as well. So kind of a sloppy scenario for the east. It's already meant quite a bit of rain in the southeast and in the deep south. Over the past 24 hours, Biloxi, Mississippi, picking up 1.62 inches. Montgomery, Alabama, seeing some heavy rain, over 1.5 inches. Still coming down, I might add. New Orleans around the Big Easy, 1.19 inches there. And Wichita Falls, Texas, boy, did you need the rain. And you got some, a little over 1 inch there. But the rains are now pulling out of Texas and pushing into eastern and northeastern sections of Oklahoma. And still a lot of rain here in the southeast. Look at the northerly movement of that moisture as the low draws the moisture on up ahead of it from the Gulf of Mexico and deposits it across the southeast. Now, the darker greens on the radar are going to indicate where some of the heavier rain bands are located. Chattanooga, you've seen some of that heavier moisture moving on through. So is Birmingham. Looks like things might be lightening up, at least temporarily, around Atlanta. Even a wedge of some drier air may be moving on in around the perimeter as we, work our way probably around the midnight hour or so. Things will dry up at least temporarily, but more showers can be expected across much of the deep south and the southeast, not just tonight, but on into tomorrow as well. Thunderstorms been moving on through. We saw this line kind of bowing like a bow echo as it pushed on through from Cedar Key back down towards Sarasota, produced some light wind damage in some parts, or I should say some minor wind damage. We had reports of winds gusting up and over 30 miles an hour. Still a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning, some gusty winds, and certainly some heavy rain from Tampa Bay along Interstate 4 to Orlando and all the way up toward Daytona, now getting rocked with some thunderstorms as they push to the east at about 35 miles an hour. There's a look at the rainy travel in the southern plains with a little bit of sleet around Abilene, Texas.
And that ain't all. We've got more precipitation here in the west, right there. Scattered precipitation. It's raining in Boise. It's raining in Portland right now, raining in the Dalles, raining down the I-5 corridor. We've just missed out on the rain here in San Francisco, but looks like just south of Twin Peaks the rain has moved in, all the way down through San Jose. Looks like a wet couple of hours. Saratoga, same story, and down towards Santa Cruz and Watsonville. Take the umbrella with you. This is the very southern edge of a storm that is moving south right now very, very slowly. It will make a left-hand turn into the United States. A snowstorm for the northern plains this weekend as this cold front heads southward out of Canada. This will actually bump that baby out. Here it comes, and there's some cold air in behind it. Current temperature at Fort Smith, Northwest Territory, 12 degrees.
All right, well, let's take a look at how all the weather in the east that we've got right now in the southeast is going to be affecting perhaps you folks in the northeast. I mentioned, or I alluded to, a low-pressure system developing along the coast. Now, if you live along the east, you know, gee, that looks familiar. We've seen this scenario come into play a couple of times at least this winter. It's been a very active winter for the northeastern corridor, and we've had low-pressure systems along the coast playing a very big role in that. A lot of overrunning moisture is going to be working on into an area of Arctic cold air, so we may be talking about some more frozen precipitation in parts of the northeast heading on into Thursday. Working our way into Philadelphia, for instance, by midday Thursday on into Thursday afternoon, that may be a factor, even on into New York City and Atlantic City as we head on into later Thursday afternoon and Thursday night. Something to keep in mind if you're going to be traveling in the northeast. There's a look at where you find the most significant rains, most of that into the southeast. Some snow may accumulate in parts of Pennsylvania, especially on into the valleys. Otherwise, just look for some pretty cold air across the northern tier states, but still warm and balmy along the Gulf Coast.
Sharon, but I hate to see those 30s here. The 30s, you said the interior valleys, Pennsylvania, also winter storm watch in effect for, what, northeastern, northwestern New Jersey, the tri-state area, New York City. It's going to be a close call, wet snow, sleet, that kind of thing. Ugh. But the warm air is on the way. If you call 50s warm, compared to 30s, yeah, we'll take that. And the real cold Arctic air, the real cold air up here, Great Lakes. From Minneapolis, St. Paul, down to Milwaukee and Detroit, Sunday and Monday, and then into Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. Here's our storm from the southeast heading north and then out. Blizzard here in the northern plains. That heads up into Canada. Cold front heads toward the east coast with just a few scattered showers by late Sunday. Then, well, things look pretty good, don't you think, by Monday?
They look pretty good to me. In an average year, there are approximately